So this is my third attempt at filming this iceberg video for your back gains. I've tried it in the garage, tried it at home, now I'm in the car. Oh well. So the way this is going down is the tip of the iceberg is the obvious stuff. The fix these first, and as we go down into the depths, that's the stuff that's just more nuanced or won't really quite matter as much as the others. So the tip of the iceberg, as you go down, these matter, these not so much. Okay. And luckily I have a picture of the iceberg, so I'll post it somewhere where you can see it so you can follow along with me. So we covered number one, which is you don't even train your back. So if you don't even train the muscle, how are you going to expect it to even grow? And that one's like, doy. Anyone can figure that one out, Trey. Duh. All right. I'm with it. That's why it's on the tip. That's why it's visible. It's obvious. Right? So what's next on the iceberg list? You don't progress your lifts. Okay? You don't try to improve upon your strength. You don't try to add 5 pounds to the bar when you can. Shoot, 2.5 pounds even works. But the idea with that one, and why it's just below the water, is it's visible. You can see it. It's there. But still, some people don't do it. Some people still go in the gym and don't try to progress their lifts. They just, month after month, year after year, keep doing the same thing over and over again and expecting results out of that. And you got to push yourself at some point. You got to say, hey, I got to try to increase the weight I'm using with the same form and the same tempo. And by then, you'll see some progress in your back training. Again, that's another surface level one where you're probably thinking, yeah, Trey, we know this already. That's basic. Well, I'm covering it because a lot of people don't do it. Just is what it is. What's next on the, it's still surface level, but your back movements are kind of trash. And how am I defining that? I'm going to define that in a way that's you're doing movements that don't align with the structure of your own body and with the path and resistance curve that targets the exact muscle you're wanting to do. And that can be any variation of any back movement you're doing. And this one is subjective, because someone's best back movement may not be someone else's best back movement. This is where you, as the exercise scientist, and yes, you are an exercise scientist if you're training. If you're training and finding out what works for you and what doesn't, you're a scientist. You're figuring out what variables work under what circumstances, and you're doing your best to minimize all those variables so you can have the best outcome that you based your hypothesis on. That's the definition of using the scientific method in doing what you want to do. So, everyone in the gym that is trying new things, figuring out new things, testing them, is an exercise scientist. You don't need the PhD behind exercise scientist for it to matter. You are one. So figure it out. And run the test on yourself. You are your own science experiment. Okay? Finding out your own body is what this is. What is bodybuilding, strength. It's all this. So find out what works with you, what works for you, in your back training movements. If you're not feeling something, if you've done everything as far as trying to add weight, feeling the movement, feeling the muscle, it's still not working, and every other variable is the same, then you got to try something else. That's what I mean by that. So if your exercise selection is trash in that department, you got to fix it up somehow. That's what I mean by that. That's, again, surface level, because you're going to look at that and be like, again, these are so freaking obvious. And what is next under the list? We got high reps, low reps, and short reps. And I'm gonna talk about short reps first. And what I mean by short reps are just partials, right? Just partial ranges of motion. But you got to pick your partials appropriately. You got to pick what exercise specifically works and what partial range of motion in that exercise works the best. So if you're doing the wrong partial in the wrong exercise, then your back training is probably going to be a little mixed up. For example, you're doing a barbell row, a standard standing barbell row, where you're bent over. The easiest part of that lift is when the bar is closest to the ground. Okay? It gets harder as you bring it up to your stomach or your chest, wherever you're bringing it. So it doesn't make sense to stick to the top to do your partials, right? You want to go to failure with the full range of motion that you can, or that you're comfortable with. And then you would, at the very end, squeeze out some more partials, like a burnout, right? Like you just squeeze out a bit more until you really can't move the joint, really can't move your elbows, or until your back gives out, really. That's what I mean by the partials. You got to pick and choose where your active range of motion is with those partials and those short reps. Because if you do them wrong, your back's not going to grow from that. Going on to high reps. If you're doing too many high reps, you aren't stressing the nervous system enough until you do low reps. You do get a lot of neuroactivity when you do lower reps. You get more muscular tension. I believe you produce more force with more weight, thus allowing the body to adapt and grow more strength. So if you want a strong back, you got to lower the reps. Just fine. Do it safely. Safety is paramount concern. So always do everything safely. If you haven't sought professional opinions on your form, do that as well. Now the next one's going to be low reps. If you're doing too many low reps, you may not be getting the amount of blood flow you need to get the back pumped up as well. So I like implementing both of these. So I like doing high rep work on one day, low rep work the other day. And I'll switch. I'll do weighted pull-ups one day. The other day I'm just going to go body weight and just try to bang out as many as I can. On the weighted pull-up days, I'm doing like 5x5s. I'm just doing a standard strength training method with a bodybuilding move, so to speak. Okay. So for high reps, if I'm doing pull-ups specifically, I'm going body weight, reps to failure. I can recover pretty well from that. If I'm doing rows or deadlifts, I try to stick to the low reps on those. Too much high rep on barbell row can leave me feeling a bit more fatigued in my back. And I want to save my back for other movements like my overhead press and other squatting or other deadlifting. So I try to keep volume and reps low on barbell rows and deadlifts. That's just me. Again, I'm my own exercise scientist. I found out what worked for me. That's all there is to it there. What's next? What's one layer even darker in the abyss? What do we got down there? Going off memory here because I don't have my poster board, but I believe it's weekly volume and your intensity. Now, of course, this is getting more nuanced because if you don't do the things on top of the iceberg, none of this stuff really matters. Your volume, frequency, and intensity does matter. If you're not nailing just progression, getting in there and doing the lifts, then this stuff's kind of just, secondhand. So your weekly volume, anywhere from 8 to 20 sets, the literature seems fine with. Again, this is where you're the exercise scientist. You got to figure out what you want to do with this. My advice is always to start low, though. You can add later. Because if 2 or 3 sets are working fine, why would you add more? If you're growing on little, why would you add more? It doesn't always mean more is better. Okay? That's what I learned from Mike Mincer, which is the hashtag MM on the intensity part, which I did his style of training for strict 2 years or more. So I did his entire program, all of his programs before, strictly the way he wanted you to do it. And I'll do a whole video on that too, because that's a whole nother experiment I put my body through. So your weekly volume, 8 to 20, see what works out for you. You can split that up. I do full body 3 times a week. So I'll do row, pull up, row, and then pull up, row, pull up. 3 times a week, 4 days of rest, 1 in between. So I like to do at least 5 sets each time. I do 3 to 5. So it could range from 9 sets a week to 15. That's my ballpark. That's where I'm at. That's what I found works for me. Any more, any less, I'm kind of tweaked, or I didn't feel like I did enough. So that's for you to decide, you to figure out, and you to do. But that's a good template. 4 to 6 sets, 4 to 6 reps. That's just a fantastic protocol for muscle strength and size anyway. So try all these things out. That's why I'm coming out with a bunch of content, is I have a bunch of things I want to get out and say, and you can test this with other content you've seen. So you just got to try things out, and that's okay. So your intensity, there's two sides of intensity here. Now, if you go the strength way, strength athletes would say intensity is the weight on the bar, and they use that with a percentage. For example, if they want you to use 90% intensity and your max is 300, they want you to use 270 on the bar. Okay? So whenever you see a strength template and they're using percentages, it's because that's how they define intensity. Okay? The intensity on the bar is 90% or 70% or 65%. And of course, the lower the intensity number they have, the percentage, the higher the reps it is. Or doesn't necessarily mean higher reps. It would probably mean more reps in reserve, or your RPE is lower. Reps in reserve, RPE is rate of perceived exertion. That one's harder to judge. That one's pretty hard to judge, because I've seen what felt like I couldn't do one more on video, and the bar path looked so fast. But for me, my rate of perceived exertion was super high, but someone else could have been like, yeah, you had like 3 more. So it's hard really to know, especially when the mental side of things gets kicked in and you feel like, man, I'm not doing so hot. I'm going to back off on a few reps, but maybe you had more in you just because the bar speed was fast. Who knows? Okay. The other side of intensity in the bodybuilding realm is how close to failure you are. So if you did 10 reps and 11 wasn't possible, even as much as you tried, you hit 100% intensity and failure in that set. That's what intensity means in a bodybuilding standpoint, perspective. But if you don't have enough intensity either way in your back training, you probably won't see as much results as you would want regardless. So yeah, your intensity needs to be high, so your weights on the bar need to be heavy, in my opinion, and you need to be close to failure, in my opinion, as well. So there's also literature saying, 2 to 3 reps shy of failure is the same as going to failure. But if you go to failure, you've hit that. You've hit that milestone. So that's a good way to gauge it too, because if you went 3 before failure, you could second guess yourself and say, "Man, I wish I would have went more intensely," or "Did I actually stimulate growth?" Or you can question yourself. But if you went to failure, there's no question. You did what you need to do. You're going to stimulate growth. You're going to get the hell out of there, grow, rest, repeat, do the same thing over and over again. So your weekly volume matters, and your intensity matters. You got to balance them though. That's where you have to fit in and try out different things. Have a starting point, go from there. Try running a 8-week, 12-week block on 2, 3, 4 back movements. Run them, increase the weight when you can. See where you're at. All right, let's see if memory serves on the next 100 feet below the depths. What's down there? Is it just going to, is it just optimum or optimal? The optimal bros? It might be. I hope it is. I'm trying to go off memory here. Okay, so if it is optimal, it's the last one I have down there. This one is so nuanced because it's so new, right? So I don't know if you guys have looked at the greats of the past in the 70s and 80s and even 90s. Those were some of the best built backs on the planet. Arnold's freaking back. Franco Columbo's back. Samir Benout's back. Oh my God, he had the best one. You just don't see that level of just etching detail in people's backs anymore. You kind of see just big. Now you just see big delts, big traps. They have some lats. You can see them, but man, those guys in the past, when they did a back double bicep, you saw like every striation. It was so sinewy, and you can just kind of, I don't know how to explain it. You can just, there were so many extra ridges. If that makes sense. There was so much extra muscle density and fibers, and that could be just based on the person. But for some reason, I just think in those 3 decades, back development was just sky high. They didn't have any of this optimal stuff. They had pull downs, pull ups, rows, bent rows, seated rows, deadlifts. They just did the basics. They weren't doing all these Keenan flap things. They weren't doing all these weird pulleys and optimizing one range of motion over the other. They just did the hard and heavy stuff and saw more than optimal results. Let's be real with that. Natural or not. They knew what they were doing. They knew how to train. They learned from themselves. They learned specific things to keep their bodies going and seeing progress. It's nuts. It's nuts. So I don't really, it's not important to me if you do optimal stuff or if you do the exercise scientist bro stuff. I don't really care regardless. But if you're not doing the things above that in this iceberg here, then it's not going to matter anyway. It won't matter. I mean, the guy doing weighted pull-ups with like 45 pounds on his body versus the guy doing like a 45-pound Keenan flap. My odds are the guy doing the weighted chin-ups and pull-ups is going to have a bigger and better back than the guy doing all this single arm isolation stuff that just maybe just gets blood flow in there. I don't know. That's just me. That's just my anecdote. That's what I've experienced. But I like doing all the heavy, hard compounds. And I've tried all the other stuff too. Like I've tried all the optimal stuff as well. Like I give everything a fair chance. I don't dog or bash anything because I'm just doing it to jump into the fad. It's because I've actually tried it. Tried the high intensity. I've tried just the high volume. I tried the bro split, push pull legs, 5x5s, 5-3-1, starting strength. Done all that. I've tried everything. Just try. Again, I'm my own exercise scientist, man. You gotta try all of it to see what's really good for you. That's how you get that deep, developed cut back. Those wide lats. It's not just doing one thing over and over. You gotta change at some point. You gotta do something new at some point. So once you try these new things and experience more and try new weights or try new movements or try new machines, like try new tempos, try new intensities. You gotta do everything, and you gotta try it all. And every great has ever told you they've tried it all, and then they found the one thing that worked for them, whether it be high intensity, low volume, high rep, low rep. Everyone is so freaking different when it comes to that. So try out new stuff. That's the point. I appreciate you guys coming along with I don't know how long this rant's been. I did this all in one freaking cut because I can't believe I lost 24-minute video earlier. I can't believe I deleted it. I feel so foolish. But that's okay. Maybe this one will be better and you'll listen into it. Not much movement going on. And the other one I had the whole iceberg picture with me and I was walking around and stuff. But maybe you can just put this one in on a playlist. You can listen to it while you're walking around or driving or something. But I appreciate you guys tuning in. If you made it this far, please like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. I'm going to try to get this one out tonight. And let me know if you have any questions on back training too. It's one of my favorite body parts to hit and lift, and that's why I made this video on it. It's one of my better body parts and features. I think it's very important to not just go in the gym and hit just what you can't see, so don't just hit your chest and bicep, bros. I'm a gym bro too, so I get it, man. Like you want to hit what you can see, but your back makes such a big difference in your aesthetic build. Just makes everything come together nicely. Your twisting poses better. Your back is stronger for the long run. It's a nice thing to build. But again, appreciate you guys. I'm signing off.